Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredible world of Hindi literature and looking at exactly how these stories shape our culture. We're going to travel all the way from those simple, magical childhood fables right up to some incredibly gritty, heart-wrenching realism. Let's get right into it. Do you remember the stories your grandmother used to tell you? I want you to really think back to your childhood for a second and reflect on the tales that first shaped your understanding of the world. Whether you were listening to them by the dim light of a lantern or right before you drifted off to sleep, those early stories were doing way more than just keeping you entertained. They were actually, quietly, building your entire moral compass. So, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll explore the magical world of stories. Second, the Panchatantra and moral tales. Third, cleverness and wisdom. Fourth, Premchand's realism. And finally, we'll wrap up with folktales and mysteries. Let's start with Section 1, the magical world of stories, building the foundation. Now, what's really interesting here is the clear distinction experts make between just a general children's tale, a bachon ki kahani, and a structured moral story. A general story can literally be anything that sparks a kid's imagination. But a moral story, that's specifically crafted to deliver a concrete ethical takeaway. It's basically a life lesson cleverly wrapped up in a really engaging narrative. And reading these stories to kids has massive benefits. We're talking accelerated language development, instilling deep moral values, and strengthening that crucial parent-child bond. To see how these core values foster real resilience, just look at the classic Hindi story of Ramu, a poor farmer, and his son Mohan. Ramu toiled in his tiny too-big a field day and night just to survive, while Mohan studied tirelessly under a lantern, promising to end their struggles. Even when the villagers mocked the idea of a farmer's son becoming a big man, Mohan didn't give up. He persevered, passed a major government exam, and became an officer. The very first time he returned to the village in his official car, with all eyes on him, he walked straight into the dirt fields. He touched his barefoot father's feet and told him that his success was entirely due to his dad's hard work. It's a beautiful narrative that connects generations, teaching us that you are defined by your hard work and your courage, not your poverty. Moving right along to Section 2, Panchatantra and moral tales, ancient lessons. A huge theme in these ancient lessons is intelligence versus strength. Classic Panchatantra tales constantly emphasize that wit and intelligence will absolutely conquer brute physical force. Take this famous fable, for example. You've got this incredibly arrogant elephant who just bullies all the smaller animals in the jungle, constantly bragging about how strong he is. But then, a tiny ant decides enough is enough. The ant uses its intellect, crawls straight up into the elephant's trunk, and starts biting him from the inside. This massive, terrifying elephant is literally brought to his knees and forced to apologize. It perfectly proves that intellect outsmarts size every single time. And then we have stories built entirely around core virtues. Just listen to this quote. "Honesty is the greatest virtue. Those who speak the truth are always rewarded." This perfectly captures the essence of the classic honest woodcutter story. You probably know this one. A poor woodcutter drops his basic iron axe into a river. A river goddess appears and decides to test him by offering him axes made of pure solid gold and silver. But he stays completely true to himself, rejecting the riches and claiming only his humble iron axe. Because of that unshakable honesty, the goddess rewards him with all three. What's amazing is how these ancient lessons adapted to modern media. The Panchatantra television series that ran from 2003 to 2007 was a total phenomenon. Produced by Ramoji Rao on ETV, it was a massive hit because it didn't just tell the stories. It actually preserved traditional Indian puppetry using rod, string, and glove puppets and blended all of that with modern broadcast graphics. They dubbed it into multiple regional languages, making Vishnu Sharma's ancient fables accessible and super engaging for millions of modern viewers. Next up is Section 3, Cleverness and Wisdom, the Era of Wit. As audiences grow older, the stories naturally shift from talking animals to tales of sharp human intellect. I absolutely love this story about Birbal's stolen purse trick. It shows how he used pure psychological pressure to catch a criminal without even breaking a sweat. So, a rich man's purse gets stolen. Instead of interrogating the 7 suspected servants, Birbal hands them all identical wooden sticks and tells them these are magical. The thief's stick will grow by exactly 1 inch overnight. Well, the actual thief totally panics. Thinking a stick is going to grow, he cuts it down by 1 inch to compensate. The next morning, Birbal just looks at the sticks, finds the shortest one, and instantly identifies the thief. Reverse logic at its absolute finest.
Which brings us to Section 4, Prem Chand's Realism, Holding a Mirror to Society.
We are now maturing into the harsh, poignant realism of 20th century literature. Munshi Premchand masterfully used the short story format almost like a weapon to expose class struggle, extreme poverty, and systemic discrimination. When we look at some of his heavy-hitting works, you see exactly what I mean. In Kafan, or The Shroud, he shows the chilling reality of a father and son so utterly numbed by poverty that they squander the money meant for a dead family member's burial. In Puski Rat, he details the bitter, freezing struggle of the Indian farmer. And in Thakor Ka Kuan, he highlights the brutal indignity of caste-based discrimination, where a woman isn't even allowed to fetch clean water for her dying husband. Guys, these are not bedtime stories. These are literal mirrors held up to society's deepest, darkest flaws. Building on that intense social realism, other authors tackled massive historical trauma. Agea's story Sheradatta explores the absolute tragedy of the Indo-Pak partition. It's a setting where humanity is basically shattering all around, but the story reminds us that even in the darkest communal riot, a single act of human kindness can save a life. The protagonist, Devinder Lal, is betrayed and locked in a dark room. But he actually survives because a woman named Zebunisa risks absolutely everything to secretly warn him that his food has been poisoned. It is a profound, powerful look at how human connection persists even when the world is quite literally falling apart. Finally, we have Section 5, Folktales and Mysteries. Societal Cautionary Tales. Let's explore the eerie world of supernatural folktales, which are usually thrilling, cautionary narratives. Take The Haunting of Bola the Cowherd. This is a genuinely bizarre and honestly kind of humorous story that warns against greed. So on night 1, Bola is desperate for better grass for his cows, so he wanders into a haunted crematorium. Weeks later, he's been completely seduced by a ghost princess, entirely forgetting his real life and his village. Luckily, an Agori Baba intervenes, rescues Bola, and gives him a magical protective veil called a chundri. Cut to years later, Bola goes home, and he actually ends up marrying the now-controlled ghost. He prospers as a farmer, and his wife mysteriously never ages. I mean, it's a wild mix of supernatural horror and a moral warning about the traps of the unknown. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really think about. Which of these literary forms holds the most power in shaping our modern society today? From the innocent animal fables of the Panchatantra to the incredibly gritty realism of Prem Chand, which stories are we passing down to the next generation? Are we teaching them the quick wit of Birbal, the unshakable resilience of the poor farmer's son Mohan, or the stark, uncomfortable societal truths of the 20th century? The stories we choose to tell are literally the blueprints for the minds of tomorrow. So what's your blueprint going to be? Keep exploring, keep reading, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.